Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Supercoach 360 BBL edition. We're about to head into round 8 after everybody suffered and managed to get through round 7 somehow. I had a disgusting score. I'll put my hand up there. But I had everything that went wrong for me did go wrong, from rained out to players with single digits, vice captain tragedies. I just couldn't get my shit together. How'd you go, Timmy?
Yeah, mate, I don't think I was much better than you, if I was at all. Finished with a 420. I think I had 5, 6 players teed up in the game last night that got cut short. So that didn't help. Having Michael Nisa score a 70 odd without even bowling, I think that's about the only thing that saved me, really. And then I had the captaincy on Richo, and sounds like he went down. I missed the last probably hour of that game, so he was doing all right up to that point. But yeah, anyway, that's Supercoach. I think I still went up 345 spots. I'm 3,300. So I've only had apart from my really poor round one, I've basically had a green arrow every week since. So every game since. It's just a case of clawing my way back, and that's so hard when all the teams look similar. So you've got to find some pods.
Yeah, well, I ended up about 300, still ranked about 300, which means that everybody else had a shitter week than what I had. So I thought I was going bad. Well, don't delete the app. You'll be all right.
That's it. It's all
Burgs,
about personal goals, isn't it? Find a goal between now and the end of the season and just work towards that.
Yeah, 100%. How'd you go, Burgs?
I got a 463, so I done okay. Compared to like some, I've seen some that are very low this week. I did have the same sort of dramas, but I brought in Turner the other week on a whim, and I played him last night once the rain affected. I knew the rain was going to affect that other game, so that was a good little get for me there. I was lucky there. But yeah, I moved up a couple of hundred spots, nothing dramatic. I'm up to 3,082nd. I'm just curious to know, like, just boosts and trade wise, like, where do you boys think everyone should be at, and how many you got left?
Timo?
Yeah, look, I've basically used everything so far. I've used 2 boosts. I've still got 1 left, and I'm trying to hold that out for the round 12, 13 doubles that are coming up. I think I'm in a pretty good spot for this round and next round with double game weeks and 3 teams next week on double game weeks. So
How,
yeah,
how many you got? How many you got in your squad at the moment without trading for those rounds?
So for the double this week, I've got 7 already before trades. And then my plan was then to use 3 this week and 3 next week, and that'll give me 10 for next week as well. So at this stage, yeah, so 7 for this round and 4 currently for the round after.
What about you, Braddo?
Yeah, I've probably gone, oh, geez, I'm a bit heavy. I got 10 this week on a double. But one I'll definitely be benching one of them to see. That's Tim David. If he goes off in the first game, then he'll come in. But I'm probably going to be a bit light next week. I'll have 8 players next week on the double. I've got 1 boost left. So I'm going to leave that day till there's a couple of tricky doubles right late in the season to finish off the year. So I'm leaving a boost. I'll put it out there. That's my strategy. Leave a boost till those tricky doubles late.
Yeah. I've still got 22 and 2 boosts, so I'll boost after this round into next round. So that will give me a few. Like I've got 6 for this round already because I started planning after my Brisbane demise, and I've got 5 already for next round.
Yeah.
That's without trading this week at all. So I've sort of prepared myself for this when I took me hit the other week. It did cost me 2 rounds in a row. I seen red, but since then I have sort of climbed back up. And with the 2 boosts, I know I'm safe for that end of round double. It's a hectic round that I've looked at it. It's going to be a hard round to produce with. So I think you will need to save the boost for that round too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good advice to any listeners there. Yeah, maybe consider saving one of those boosts for those those last couple of rounds. That last round there, it's going to be very tough to get a good team on the field there. So Yeah, just don't catch yourself out. All right. So, what are we thinking about trade wise, Timmy? What are you thinking this week?
Yeah, look, I've sort of at this stage the trades I've made have just brought in more players for this round, and I think I'm going to reverse that. I don't. I mean, if I run with the trades I've got, I've just done, then I've got 10 for this week, but then that is going to leave me a bit short next week. I think next week's going to be more important with 3 teams on the double. So I think if across both rounds, if you've got 17 or 18 guys playing a double game, then I think you're looking in about the box feet. So yeah, look, I think I've probably gone too heavy this round with my trades, and I'll be rethinking. But at this stage, I've brought in Caleb Jewell and the Hurley Durley. So it's all going to depend. Honestly, at the moment, it's also going to depend on what happens with Richo. If Richardson's hamstring is worse than it was looking last night, if he's going to be out for a few weeks, then a few rounds, then yeah, Richo will be. I'll have to sell him. But I think if he's only going to miss this round, I'll probably hold him with the double next week. So yeah, and there's a fair bit of cash here. It's 220K or something like that he's got to spread out. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, the way that I did things, I sort of was dropping Richo and Sam's, and then and Swepson, and then that way it meant that I could actually upgrade Swepson to someone who was going to play a half decent game of cricket. So unfortunately, he's not looking real flash for my Brisbane Heat at the moment, but I'm sure his time will come. And maybe the spinners surprisingly were the ones that were taking the wickets last night in that Sydney game. So maybe if he got a bowl, he might have collected a few as well. But who knows? It's all ifs and buts and maybes. But yeah, look, at this stage, I've sort of done 2 up and 1 down type thing.
I love your I'll pass one comment to you to think about. I love the Dooley one. I think he's a very safe option. Anybody out there there's a safe Hobart bowler for you. Will bowl two games, and he's proven to be a good scorer so far this year. The one I do question is Jewell. I think you got to be real careful of what batting order is going to be produced by the Hurricane. And Jewell, unfortunately, is right there in the chopping block area. Somebody is going to suffer big in that top order for Tasmania. And it seems like Jewell could be one of the ones. He could be lucky. He might get a nice double opening, but I doubt it. Not with Crawley. Crawley will open, it sounds like. And you wouldn't think Dermy's going to drop down the order. Certainly, if you don't have Dermot, then we all got McDermott. Are we all going with him? I mean, he's got to be nearly a must-have at that price. God.
Well, I haven't got him yet.
I'm jumping on.
Yeah, see that was sort of the coin toss, whether or not I filled batting or bowling. So, yeah, like I know at this stage I brought in 2 bowlers and a batter, but yeah, it's going to be dependent, like I said, on that Richo. Depends on what's happening there. Will depend on whether I go for cheaper options or yeah, tough call.
Yeah.
At this stage, though, no, I don't have Dermy. He was sort of the one I was tossing up.
Burgs, what do you think?
He's a clean swap for Hales for me.
What?
Clean swap for Hales for me. Hales still 40% owned, which I was surprised at, but I wouldn't care if he's break even or whatever now. I think I'm just going to look to put him into a double gamer, and then if Dermy produces in both games, I might hold for the following round. But if he doesn't, then I'll just get rid of him for the next double game batter coming through. Sam's is another one. I'm not sure on the extent of his injury. I don't really want to have too much cash sitting on the bench, and that with Richo going down and Sam's. He'll be the first on the chopping block over Richo for me. But if I find out some more info on Richo, I'd like to use his money and just strengthen up everything. You know what I mean? With the money that those 2 blokes have got and Hales, they'd be my 3 trades that I'd do this week. I did look at some pods. Dwarshus is a pod still. Jewell, but like we said, he could easily drop down to 6 at any given moment. With Zach Crawley coming in, and they love Darcy Short. I don't know. He's probably the one that probably should go, but I can't see Darcy going. And then Mitch Owen. I don't know much about Mitch Owen, but I did read somewhere that he's looking like moving into the squad. So, I wouldn't probably buy. I'd probably only buy out all of them. I'd probably buy Dwarshus, but just on his butt, just because he's a decent bowler. He's not a great bowler, but if I wanted a pod and I was looking at something, he'd probably be the way I was going. But yeah, Dermy's definitely coming in for me. We've seen what Dermy was the leading run scorer last year with the bat, so it says something about his abilities.
Yeah, 100%. Well, my trades this week, mine are a bit out there. I've gone Chris Jordan. What do we think there? I think he's up for 2 games. I can't see him missing out on the 2 games. I missed him out in the buy, hold, sell article this morning, but I probably shouldn't have. So shout out to the people who picked me up on that. But yeah, I do like Chris Jordan. He looks good for 2 games because then he leads. So they'll be resting bowlers, but they won't rest him. They'll play him.
Yeah.
My other one
do you
was
think with that one in particular, do you think it's an issue? The Sixers have got the bye next week. It depends on how you sort of set up for how many players you've got in your squad at the moment.
well, he's just a buy, and then I sell him next week. I just get rid of him. I don't have a huge number. I've only got 4 sixes. Right, so I can, he'll just go. He's just coming in for 1 week, going next week. I've got to sell someone next week, and I don't really want to sell the likes of Ty and people like that. So he'll just come in and then he'll go again, and other people will come in. My other trades were, of course, Dermy. We've just spoken about him, and the other one's a bit left of field, but I'm bringing in Adam Zampa at 102,000, break even. I think 13 or something like that. He's got a double next round, so it's in prep for next round. Let's just forget his brain snap from the other night. I haven't asked you about that one yet, but I think he'll play 2 games. He just about bowls 4 every time. I like it at that price.
Do you think it's good to actually invest in next week's, like with your trades? It's not always good to just buy 3 coming into this round. Is it good to invest in next round and sometimes even the round after if it's need be?
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you're like me, I mean, if I invested fully in this week, I'd end up with 11 players on a double. There's no way I'm doing that. And I might do what Timmy's doing and reinvestigate it and maybe only buy 1 extra for this week and 2 more for next week and try to strengthen up my next week's squad. So, I might change it.
I think if you've got 7 or 8 for this week, I think you'd leave it at that. Like when you once you start putting the numbers together, like I've got Nisa, and one of the guys in our chat group said, "Oh, maybe get rid of Nisa," and I thought, well, he's an out and out bowler. He scored 70 points last night, or 70, whatever it was, 70 odd, and he didn't even get a bowl. So he's one of the ones now that I'm thinking he's a set and forget keeper that I'm just going to hold on to him. So he's certainly not leaving my side. And then when you start adding those sorts of guys in on a single game week that can produce more points than guys on a double game week, you're mad if you get rid of them. So it's all well and good to have 8, 9, or 10 for a double game week, but if they're not going to outscore blokes that are on fire like Nisa is, then you're buying guys for shits and giggles. At which point, that's when I'm sort of looking at it now. That's the 7 that I've got for this round. I think it's probably a good enough number, and my 3 trades will probably end up being more focused towards next week, because then it gives me 3 trades this week and 3 trades next week, and I can finish with 10 of the double gamers next week with 3 teams on the double.
Yeah, no, 100% right there. 100% right. And in that, and looking at that, one of the ones I was thinking about for next week was Hose from down in Adelaide. Another one that's got a break even in the single figures. I think he's only about 117,000. Been coming into a bit of form. He's adjusted now to Australian conditions on the double. So he might also find his way into my team. I wish I took my own advice last week. Remember last week, last round, I said, watch out for Ollie Davies. I think he might be the buy of the week. He proved one of the high scorers of the week, didn't he? I should have done it, but anyway.
Funny how we're great at giving advice and never seem to take our own. We're all guilty of that.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. Do we have any more on the other one? I'll comment on. You guys can come into this. I see a lot of people selling Stoinis. Very confusing to me because he's committed to the end of the year, and he's only made about $20,000 or 30, nearly 30, something, which I suppose is a little bit of a gain. But he's got a double round coming up next week. Would you sell him? Who wants to answer that?
I was full gonna sell him, right? Just because he was my cheapest player and easiest to get back, if you know what I mean. He's only going to make maximum of $30,000 this week if he has a blinder. And I just thought I've got that sitting spare in the bank anyway. So even if he was to get that, I'd be able to easily get him back and replace him with someone who, like a sixer, who's not going to play next week at all. I've found another way now. I've moved stuff around and Stoinis stays, but at the first iteration this morning, I was like just going, right, well, Stoinis is gone. I didn't know about Richo's injury because I didn't watch the end of the game. So he was still in my squad at the time, and I just thought he's gone. And then now looking at it, I'd still go that way if I didn't have another option. You know what I mean? Knowing that he can only make 30K. And if I'm bringing in the likes of a, I don't know, like a Matt Short, say I didn't have Matt Short, I'd definitely do that. You know what I mean? 100%. And then bring Stoinis back next week for a Philippi or a Vince or whatever. You know what I mean?
What do you reckon? Is it rage trading, Timmy, or is there value in getting rid of Stoinis?
I'd say it's more so, I mean, it could be a little bit of rage trading, but I think it's more so probably with the news that came out overnight that he'd signed for one of the Middle Eastern clubs or something like that to go over there and play T20. I think the original info was that it was sort of effective immediately, and it wasn't until a couple of hours ago where the info came out that he's going to finish the rest of the BBL season. So it might just be a case of a lot of people have done trades early and they've got to go back and either reverse trade or decide whether or not they're going to stick with that.
Boys, you'd be surprised how many people sit up till lockout is over. It's unreal. Like they're hanging to get in and just look at what's going on with their team, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree, Matt. I'd say that there's a fair bit of knee-jerk reaction there, and I think I'll be surprised if it's the same amount of people that are trading him out now as what will be by the time lockout kicks in this afternoon.
Yeah, you'd think a few would reverse on that one. Yeah, there's even people trading out. Abbott's pretty high on the trade out list, which confuses me too. I don't quite understand Abbott being traded out. Again, it must be a rage trade, surely.
Yeah, not for me.
Yeah,
you'd be holding.
Let's face it, that was a rain affected game. Everyone knew the rain was coming to North Sydney. Like we were talking about it for days, and then they got a few overs in, you know what I mean? And everyone's spewing. It's like, well, it's the nature of cricket. If we actually think back to the last 2 years prior to this year, it pissed down heaps. You know, we lost a lot of cricket throughout the last 2 seasons of BBL rain, and I don't know, people whinging me. That's our first one.
This is why the Brisbane Heat can't win a title, because it's bloody rains up here in Queensland all the time.
Oh, geez, there's plenty. We won't talk about the Broncos, will we? There's plenty going on up there. Oh my God!
No, leave the Broncos alone for another couple of months.
Oh, geez, poor old Payne Haas. He can't take a trick, can he?
That's it. In the Haas.
Hey, and you've lost Tessie New now. He's going to jump ship to the Dolphins.
Oh well.
Welsh is back.
yeah, that's right. It's a different season. We've got a fullback. We don't need Tessie.
It's cold.
Just back to BBL quickly. If you were pretty much heavily set for this week already, right? Who would you be focused on bringing in for the triple game week next week? Like, who would you be? Would at least two blokes that you think you must have that, you know, if not already owned. Like I'm looking at like a Clark, definitely, and probably for me, Inglis if you don't own, but I think they're both highly owned anyway.
I think if you look at the scorchers, I think Inglis, Ty, and Richo would be the main three you'd be trying to focus on. And Richo's obviously a little bit harder because of his cash, but just keep an eye on that injury as to what progresses. I'm hoping before lockout this afternoon, info will come out today about how his scans went this morning. So, but they're the three scorchers I'd be aiming for.
You got to throw Short in the mix, don't you? Short has to
Absolutely.
be.
Yeah.
The bowlers at Adelaide are a bit of a worry. I just don't know what's going to happen down there. I mean, they've rested or not played Agar at times. They've Thornton, though, he's dropping in price. So I'd probably say Thornton is one I'll be jumping definitely on next week.
Yeah, he's on
Rashid's gone as well, isn't he? Rashid's gone next week. He's not there for the double, so it opens up a bowler spot. Like, there's 4 overs there, has to be taken.
Is there any chance that the test guys will be back? Like the strikers have got Head and Carey, don't they?
Yeah, no chance for this week's coming double. No. After that, yes. They're just not going to make this double.
Yeah.
And I've certainly got my eyes on Head. He's a nice cheap price. I'm going to whack him in, I think, straight away.
Yeah, I'm with you.
He's one.
You're not coaching if you don't get Head.
Calm down. All right, now let's have a look at captains, vice captains. Now, the easy one is this week, right? Hobart plays in the first game of the round. Sydney plays in the second game of the round. That means it's an easy option in a way. Coaches out there, you get a vice captain. You get a vice captain as a Hobart player, and you put a captain as your Sydney player. You all agree on that?
Yeah.
I do, but I'm saying stay away from the Sydney bowler. Because the rotation's just crazy there.
Yep. Yeah.
At the moment, I've gone Wade into Philippe, and
Yeah,
I've got the plus with both of them being dual bat wicket keeper. I've actually got Peter Hanscom sitting on my bench, so it's just going to make things a little bit easier, and I can move things around if I need to.
Yep, nice. At the moment, I've gone Dermy into Abbott. But that could change it. Yeah.
I was originally on Kerr, but I heard he's looking at getting rested, so it worries me.
Well, Kerr is the only Sydney bowler I think that hasn't been rested to date. Am I right with that? Has anybody sort of got an idea on that? But I'm off memory. I'm only going, but I'm pretty certain Kerr is the only one so far that hasn't been rested.
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
for mine as well. Yeah.
What's that, Timmy?
No, I was just saying I'm not sure, but I'll take your word for it. I haven't watched because I was away with the family the first couple of rounds, so I didn't watch that closely as to who was in the rotation. But I did hear that comment online this morning that Kerr's the only one who hasn't had a rest yet. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure.
So that being the case, I mean, there's been a fair bit of speculation, talk around he's going to be the one that will get a rest at some point. You know, is it going to be this lot of double games, or is it going to be on the other side? Who knows? Like I said, they got Chris Jordan here for the next 2 games. So you think that if they're going to do this rotation policy, it'll be while Jordan is here, and they give him a rest now, and then they'll play the whole lot of them once Jordan racks off.
But if they've got the bye next round anyway, you'd think they'd want to be playing their strongest team for the next 2 games. Wouldn't that be the logical thing to do? Yeah. Or are they just resting to sort of give everyone a go and keep everyone happy?
I hope they have that same thought process, because he's probably their form player at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I'd be thinking if they're going in with 100%, like obviously with you, I'm sure they're not setting themselves up to lose. But if they're trying to go in with their first 11 being their best 11, then you would like to think if they're having a rest in a few days' time that they would just play these guys through. Obviously, there's niggles and everything else, and that always comes into play. But yeah, you'd think that Hayden Kerr's in their best 11 at the moment. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So do we have anything else to discuss, fellas? What else do we want to add into anything? We did you the man card from yep.
With the Stars double game coming up, who
Yep.
are you guys thinking is worth targeting for the Stars?
I like Wood.
Oh, we knew that.
Look, Luke Wood.
But the bloke, there's a bloke called Wood, and he plays all right as well.
Yeah.
Luke Wood is very one you should be targeting. Joe Clark. It should be another popular one. Zampa, like I said, is one that's certainly going to be playing. I'd steer clear of Coulton Isle because you just never know when. I've heard he's going to have another rest soon, or he might have a little niggle sitting there. So he could be a bit of a worry. But Bolt goes, he disappears. So I'm not sure when he disappears, but it's got to be damn close.
That'd be good for Webster.
Yeah. I think Webster's probably one of the other ones that would be certainly worth trying to target. I think Webster and Wood for me would be the two that I'm looking at. I've already got Stoinis, and I don't think I want any more than 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably wouldn't be going too ridiculously hard there with them. No. They're bottom of the table now, aren't they?
I'm not sure. I thought my Heat were there.
No, he passed them with the bye. Well, not with the bye, with that draw. That 1 point they got last night. So I'm fairly certain. The wooden spoon position is held by the Stars at the moment.
Yeah, they definitely can't make finals, I read.
Sorry, Burgs. The only thing I would do is maybe next week I turn Philippi into Clark, and still keep my 3 wicket keeper rotation there. But outside of that, yeah, I think Webster, Stoinis, and Wood will be those 3 I'm aiming for.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. All right. Well, that just about wraps it up, I think, for today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for our quick little chat and update on everything buy, swap, sell, hold, everything else that you're doing with your Supercoach BBL. Hopefully, the rain is predicted not to affect any game this round coming. So that's not even a consideration really to look at. I'm not a meteorologist, though, so do check with the weather. I might look a bit like a weather-beaten person, but I'm not really a weather guru. Burgs, anything else you want to add in?
No, just good luck. Oh, and we're climbing up the ranks of the cricket comp too, lads.
Yeah, the Shane Warne Cup. We're coming to get who's in third spot. Who are we chasing?
Either the hub or playbook.
And then Tragics, isn't it? Tragics are there somewhere.
Tragics is first, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So those 3 better watch out because we're on our way to come and get you. That's it for today. Many thanks to everybody. Good luck for this next round. And our next chat will be, I think, on about Monday the 9th. I think there's a new round set to start then. But until then, cheers for now. Thanks, Timmy.
Thanks, boys. Stay safe and be good.
All right. Thanks, Bergs. See ya.
Peace.